Spinning beach ball. Oh my God. See, it says you are live. We are live. Hello, hello, hello. We are going live to Facebook and a Facebook group. Oh no, actually my Facebook page and YouTube simultaneously. So here we go. Welcome, Catherine Morgan. Thank you so much for doing this.
It is my absolute pleasure, Lou.
Thank you. And I'm going to repeat and record this so that if folks miss it the first time around, we'll have a recording of it that we can spray out everywhere. Or is what was the Steve Bannon expression, flood the zone. So anyway.
Yeah. The funniest thing ever was the Saturday Night Live skit with him coming in as, the angel of death.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about this too. And we're here for, to talk about dialing down anxiety, which I'm sure there's none of that this week. But there was a skit that my son's like, that's you. Like there was a skit about like, okay, we don't want Donald Trump to win, but what are we going to talk about if he's gone? Like my whole identity is wrapped up in not liking.
Okay, I feel really sorry for Randy Rainbow. He's going to have to get a whole new shtick.
Really? I know. That's why I'm thinking like, you got to expand.
Oh, Sarah Thompson. Yay. Hi,
so
Sarah.
Feel free to put any questions in the chat. Hopefully we'll see them. But what we're here to talk about is dialing down your anxiety. And the way that I came about this was Catherine was in a class of mine and she mentioned her course about dialing down anxiety. And she was kind enough to let me run through it. And it was amazing and it was awesome. And we'll talk more about it and where to find it in a bit. Which was great because it was like maybe it was 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was sort of we're in the the craziness of the election and the pandemic, and I told Catherine because she was saying what was good about it. I'm like just the fact of being able to go to something that's focused on, how do I cope? How do I bring the craziness down? How do I reduce the volume? And it's a 10-day course, and I did pretty well. I got through 9 days. I got one more to go, and I think the thing I liked about it was that I could do it at my own pace, but it always helps to have the accountability and somebody sort of pushing you to do it. But it was great because there were various coping skills and other things aside from muscle relaxers, which is my usual go-to.
or an alcoholic beverage or edibles, depending on if they're legal and where you are.
Exactly.
Everybody has been under a ton of stress between the pandemic and the US election. And by the way, the levels for anxiety and depression were at record proportions, even in segments of the population that had previously experienced very little of it before the pandemic. And my assumption, and you can validate this, is that things haven't gotten any better post-pandemic and US election cycle. So if we were at epidemic levels of stress, anxiety, and depression in the population at large, now we're like 10x.
Yeah.
So my whole reason for doing this was like I could feel the trauma in the ethos, and friends who are open with that stuff are like, yeah, my anxiety is an 11. I'm like, well, I've built tools or I know strategies to fix this because in my real business I work with people in career transition, and few things send people spiraling into anxiety faster than losing their job or quitting their job or having their business implode. Like financial collapse or the perceived financial collapse sends people, skyrocketing in anxiety.
Yes.
That's where I learned all these tools. So I thought, well, they work for professionals. Let's just put them out there so people can use them and feel better.
Yeah, I know. Because when we all started talking about the deadly quote unquote new normal and pivoting and all that stuff, even if you may have lost a job, you may be a business owner, a restaurant owner, or if you're entrepreneurs like us, things have never been more unpredictable. Now, fortunately, personally, I didn't really have a downtick, but since summer, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, and that's really unnerving. So I think it's like I've kind of seen it like as the perfect storm of COVID politics, and race relations maybe. And that's like these three things coming together to just create this crazy, hi Catherine, other Catherine's here. Sarah suggests Ativan. I'm not opposed to that, but I know you have other ideas.
I do. It's a personal decision. You do what you need to do. I'm not here to prescribe, but I'll tell you what I've been doing that's been working. I've been dropping into box breathing. One of the days of the course is about breathing. And Brene Brown recently talked that there are only two groups of people she hears talking about breath techniques. One is like yoga studios, and the other is special forces. So that could be like the start of a joke. What do yoga studios and special forces training have in common? And it would be breathing techniques. But for people who don't know about box breathing, this is something that you can use in bed when you're having trouble falling asleep, which is when I use it, or before a meeting or during a meeting. Like, it's a stealth technique, the doctor's office, waiting for your mammogram results, whatever. So it's a cadence, and I know Lou's a musician, so he'll get this. It's got to be all at the same tempo. So whatever your tempo is, 1, 2, 3, 4, each side of the box, equal sides, has to be the same tempo. So it's inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold the air in your lungs, same count, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, keep your lungs empty, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just keep going through this cycle. And I find by, as you calm down a little bit, because at first your cadence might be pretty fast, and then you slow it down over time. And what this does is it tells your body, oh, I'm breathing longer and slower. I must not be in danger. So instead of having your anxiety ratchet up with shallow, quick breaths, you're telling your body it's safe, and then kind of tricking your brain to like shut up about being in danger. You're just going to sleep, or you're just going into a Zoom call, or you're just having your performance review or whatever. But I can't recommend, I swear I cannot recommend box breathing enough. And every time I'm like, can't fall asleep, I'm like, box breathing.
Yeah. And it's funny because some of those, you'd think like, oh my God, I'm going to have to spend $1 gazillion on counseling and psychiatrists. But some of these coping mechanisms are so simple, like box breathing, which I will admit, before I heard what it was from you, I assumed it was crawling into a box.
Which has been my personal temptation.
But it is not that. It is breathing. What about some other coping skills? One of the things that you talked about in the course, because you had a guest on, and she was talking about things that you can do, like even if you're on a Zoom and you're starting to panic, which is sort of off camera, but you can still use it to calm yourself. Like,
absolutely. Shweta Shimani is a bioenergetic wellness practitioner who I personally work with and adore. But she did give us some stealth techniques, and one is so simple, it's kind of amazing. So when normally your tongue is hanging out on the roof of your mouth, and you're like clenching your jaw a little bit, and the tongue's like glued to the roof of your mouth. And she said to me, let your tongue lie like a rug in the bottom of your mouth. And that's something that if you weren't speaking on a Zoom call, you could easily do. Nobody would see your face change or anything. And it really does just take your anxiety down just a little bit. I don't know why exactly. I think she said it stimulates the vagus nerve, but that was one thing. The other thing she said is a pressure point, that if you look between these fingers and you go down to where the bones connect, you can either, if you have your hands in your lap like you would during a call, you could just be rubbing it or tapping it. And that is apparently a big stress reliever. I was just on a training with her and some women's group, and we all did this with like a release. It was amazing. I'm like, well, there's a stealth move. Nobody's going to, like, I'm doing it right now, but you can't see that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So Zoom call, stressful. You're presenting your project. You don't know how your boss is going to react. You're like, oh yeah, I could use a little this. And the other ones are ones that you can do by yourself. My favorite is the I'm okay one, which is 3 fingers like this, and and then you let the round do like above like glasses where would go. And this is my favorite. And you just leave it there and breathe until you feel the pulses start coming in your forehead. It also, for those of us with TMJ and who clench a lot, this just, it gives like a whole relief thing here. So that's one. But I love these because they're so simple, and don't like disregard them because they're so simple, but they're really, really helpful. And even just like, oh my God, this meeting's going on forever, I'm going to kill somebody. Tap, 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 tap. Because, we've all had that happen.
Right. Because, there's some things where like, you can't really, you're in the midst of a meeting. Or, I mean, I've been in a couple of stressful coaching calls this week. And I think it's just because the other people are stressed, and then I take on that stress, and it's easy to spiral, So
drop your tongue, do the tapping thing.
Great jacket.
You got to do it.
So let's just say, and again, please feel free to ask any questions if you're watching us live. If you want tips for dialing down your anxiety, which is the course that Catherine created that we're talking about. Let's just say that you're a little obsessed with the election results, which is natural, I guess, and you're glued to CNN. And you can feel you're just like, every time they dump another bunch of votes, you're just like, is it a good idea to just turn that off or unplug? Or, I mean, how do you, like, a lot of times, like, all right, I'll do a digital detox. But at this point, I can do about 2 hours, and then I'm just,
Right. I think it's, once again, whatever you need to do. If you need to unplug because you're losing your mind, unplug, take the dog for a walk, or whatever your thing is. But, I find it helpful to dialogue with your fear because it's there, it's talking to you, it's going around in your head. Sometimes it's helpful to say, okay, so what do you got for me? Let's just put this stuff out on the table and talk about it. Elizabeth Gilbert always personifies her fear, that it's along for the ride, because we have fear for a reason. And she says, but fear is a primitive response, and it doesn't get to drive the car. It doesn't get to put on the radio. It doesn't get to pick the snacks. Fear comes along for the ride, but it's in the back seat. Like it's in the place that it should. And I'm sure you noticed in the course, I personify my fear as a physicality. It's a combination of a black pug and a gargoyle, and I call him Seymour. And I talk to Seymour. You can talk to Rocco, but I'm Seymour. What do you got to tell me? Oh, this course you're putting out, no one's going to buy it. You're a total loser. You're going to, people are going to make fun of you. Who are you to do it? You're not a mental health professional. What the heck do you know? Like, dish it up. And then I'm like, okay, thank you so much for your feedback. Go to your dog bed. But it gives you some sense of control, and you're not trying to push it down. Generally, I don't find pushing it down works because it just comes back stronger. You're better off just airing it out, letting all your demons come out to play, and then, send them to their dog bed. But I use that Seymour thing in my productivity talk. And every time people come up to me afterwards, they're like, wow, that was so helpful. I'm like, use it, come up with your own, you don't like Seymour, make up your own vision.
Well, and I know, because a lot of times, I mean, I'll look back to my dad's generation where it was kind of like, suck it up, be a man, and I'm not very woo-woo, but I'm enough to know that, like, you've got to, it's okay to say, like, holy shit, I'm off the charts anxiety here. So other coping skills for, particularly stressful times, like
okay, look, you're gonna go like this for this one. Don't let this stuff stay in your body. It is toxic. Whatever you have to do to shake it out, shake it off, stretching. Whenever I'm inundated with the news, I either go for a walk, I
Mhm.
do a yoga series, or I do a Zumba class, like something to get it. If it sits here, it's headaches, sinus thing, stomach aches, digestive issues. Like, it's not good for your body. So know that this stuff really is toxic, and it's very sticky. Like, you do your boxing, right, to get it out of your system?
Pretty much every morning, which is great, because honestly, I think if I wasn't able to punch something and not get in trouble, then I'd lose my mind, because it's a really good release, and you could just kind of let it all go. The other thing I've been doing more recently is like giving myself permission to take naps, take a break.
Naps are great. I'm a big nap fan. I'm always just this side of a coma. I am not one of those high energy people.
I know, and it depends on the day and everything, but now I've got Rocco trained. I swear to God, he goes to the bedroom door at 3 p.m. because that's usually nap time, and he wants to take a nap at the time. So I blame him. I'm like, well, I had work to do, but Rocco wanted to take a nap, and I had to keep him company. So and it's so funny with the dogs. I mean, they've got their little routine, and they get, Rocco's like, daylight savings time. I don't care what the clock says. It's time to eat. So.
Oh yeah, animals and daylight saving. The time change either side. They're like, yo, you with the thumbs, go open the can.
Yeah, really. And then I mentioned that yesterday I actually canceled my afternoon and went for a massage, which I rarely do. I feel like, and a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, are like, I have work to do, and I have clients, and I have to take care of them. It's like, well, you have to take care of you too, right?
I actually think that has to come first. And when the pandemic hit, I actually flip-flopped everything. I'm like, my self-care comes above everything, comes above my business, because I will not be able to be there for my clients, give my clients the best information. Like, I know you really care about the people you work with too. I can't serve them properly if I'm like from not sleeping or just not being clear. And another thing I had to do is just be realistic and say, you know what, my productivity is not what it was pre-pandemic. My to-do list has shrunk.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have like the 2-3 max things that might get done this day, and everything else is on the maybe doing or the never doing list. Like my whole thing, because everybody else I'm seeing in our Facebook feed, we've got a zillion mutual friends, people saying, I don't know what happened to my productivity. I can't focus. I'm like this. I'm like, hello, pandemic. Like, just back it off a little bit. Like,
right.
Ruthless priorities.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I'm trying to recall in the course if you talked to any about balance, because especially moms or dads with their kids.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I mean, qigong.
Cheryl, yeah, I'm it works, right?
I'm here homeschooling for second graders and stuff. I'm like, how is that possible? And then if you're expecting that you're going to be putting in the same amount of time with your business or with your job, it ain't happening. Like, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
That's a down, it'll feed a downward cycle, right? So you have all these things on your list, you're not getting to them, then you feel like a big loser. Then the noises in your head are just like, you're such a total loser. What are you doing thinking you can run a business?
Yeah.
Right? So taking things off, doing very small things. Some days you're not going to be able to do anything. Just like, turn the laptop off, go for a walk. Like, seriously. And then, but do one thing so you don't start the next day beating yourself up saying, I didn't do anything yesterday. Well, you did do like a little thing. I think we really have to go back to time management basics and just do small steps every day. Small steps build to bigger things. Like, some people have been writing books and have been really creative and stuff. And some people are like, I can't string a sentence together. Like, you are.
Right? The other thing, there's pressure. Like, well, what are you going to do during the pandemic now that you have to stay at home? Aren't you going to write your novel or?
Yeah. I started doing church.
There you go. So but that's the thing. I don't think you have to. Like.
No, you can't. And I couldn't do anything for the first couple months. I'm walking around you know, if you put up a poll, the three things I've mostly said are WTF,
Right.
WTAF,
Hmm.
and then there's like category C is anything else, but the big ones would be like WTF, WTAF, like, right?
Yeah.
What?
Often turn to humor or sarcasm. Maybe it's just my nature being from Boston or whatever. But
That's why we're friends.
yeah. And sometimes my wife gets mad and she's like, "Is that how you want to be remembered?" Doing these. I've done like these Trump parody, not Randy Rainbow level, but like little songs.
That one was pretty good.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I didn't sing it. A friend of mine did, but that's how I cope. Right. So
If You Pay Me is a classic. I hold it up often for clients.
it's green, so it's not
Yeah.
screening, but yeah. So, and I did another one that's coming out soon called Zero Fucks Left to Give.
Nice.
A little rhyme and everything.
A nod to Mark Manson.
Yeah, exactly. Whose book I have to reread. So
I like the first one. The second one, I like the first 2/3 and the last third where he talks about AI and everything. He's ending up being right, unfortunately, but I was just like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing. It's like, well, that's humor is my default thing. And
well, you saw my Memory Lane video that you inspired with your Voice Matters course.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then you showed me one, the guy that was doing the calm.
Oh, that was so. He's hilarious, Chris Van.
I'm an introvert, so Facebook is my water cooler. It's like I need to go there and repost this or share that or whatever. Right. And I'm not necessarily trying to be divisive or anything. I'm just, a wise ass. So
you need a wise guy. It's your brand.
Right. So let's talk about the course, because that's the whole cool thing that we wanted to share. And I'm going to see if I can show.
Just to give people context, this course was soft launched a couple months ago, and a bunch of people have gone through it. And the feedback that I got was, this is great. This information is really helpful. Loved it. Enjoyed it. I think it's funny that the number one thing people said is, I really enjoyed it for an anxiety course. But that was what everybody said. And a bunch of people, one person said, these emails come too fast, meaning daily. I didn't get a chance to do it. I'm like, it's a 15-minute time commitment. If you can't find 15 minutes in a day, you have a time management problem. It's not the cadence of the emails. Right. So I just kind of called nonsense on that.
Yeah, and they're video lessons, so you can really watch them anytime. And what I was trying to do is saying, okay, before the end of the day, I'm going to set aside 15 minutes.
Right.
And that's loo time. And that's the other thing I liked about it, was like I felt like I was doing something, taking action and doing something productive to combat all the stress.
Exactly. But one of the things that came out is, you know what, I'd really love some accountability with this. I'd really love to have just the commitment of a Facebook group or some interaction to make sure that I'm doing it and to talk about the topics. I'm like, okay. So Lou recommended that I do a Facebook group about it and play the videos and interact and talk to people about what they're struggling with every day. And that's what we put together.
That's awesome. So it's going to be live. And I think that's the key, because I know, having done a lot of these challenges and things like that, that left to my own devices, like I said, I didn't even get to day 10, right? I was like, wow, I got through 9 days. But if you want to get through the whole thing and you want accountability and you want to be able to follow along, there's nothing like doing it live with you while you're sort of guiding them through. And that's also a thing, because I could say, like, if I had a question about something and I was just watching the video, I'd have to wait. But if I'm watching it and there's a Facebook group and I can ask that question, then I feel like, all right, now I'm totally engaged. So you're going to tell us when you're going to start that and how it's going to look.
Okay, so we're going to start on the auspicious day of 11/11, so November 11th, next Wednesday. I'm going to go live every day at, I think I said 3 Eastern. and we'll play the videos. Sometimes there's a training video for me. There's an email description. There's some links to other stuff. We'll watch the videos. We'll talk about the other resources. I'll personally answer any questions anybody has. I know that anybody involved in this is going to say, oh, that's great. Have you thought about this? So I'm sure that a bunch of other resources that aren't included in my course will be uncovered by other people. And it will be really interesting to see what's working for people. So we'll have the accountability, every day for 10 days. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And the timing is impeccable. So
yeah, not like anybody's experiencing any right now.
Exactly. So we'll include a link afterwards underneath on the recording and stuff, because it's a little bit of a longer link. But what's the easiest way to find the I Dial Down Anxiety course, live course?
The live course is on my blog, on my company. All of it's long. So just look for the links.
Okay.
We'll link it around. I should have bought a short link. Bad me.
We've had a few things going on. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. Again, it's not woo-woo, it's practical.
Oh no, this is practical. This is for professionals. The people I work with are usually senior managers, executives, and founders of companies. So this is stuff that I have used personally and has worked for my clients for 10 years, because my clients come to me in incredible states of anxiety, financial collapse, death in the family, divorce, like the big stuff that we're all struggling with. So this stuff works.
Yep. And it's, like I said, it's practical, it's timely, it's relevant, and it's easy. It's not
easy.
I mean, 15 minutes a day.
You have 15 minutes a day, and sometimes it's not that much.
Right. And it really helps, because honestly, I know, like, I'm certainly not alone in not being able to sleep, and eating oddly, eating has not been a problem. I've been able to do plenty of that. So, but whatever it is you may be struggling with, whether it's the election or the pandemic or just the whole everything altogether, this is a really good way to alleviate some of that stress and again, cope. It's just a matter of kind of like, how do we get through this? It may be a while. So
it's going to be a while. I mean, Chicago, we're shut down again.
Yep. So yeah. And my plan B was like, well, I'll just, go find an Airbnb in the south of France or Italy or something. But apparently I can't leave. So I'm stuck here for a while. We're all stuck here for a while. So, yeah. Any other final kind of tips, ideas, like immediate, like, okay,
one thing. People get real wrapped up in their anxiety and they feel like it controls them and they don't have any control over it, which is exactly why I named this I Dial Down Anxiety, because it's a volume knob. You know what lights you up, that news service, that social media platform, that relative, that toxic coworker. Like, we know what dials it up, but there are strategies and tactics that you can use to dial it down. You have more control over this than you think, folks.
Exactly. So excellent. All right. We'll put the links for the I Dial Down Anxiety course, which is awesome.
Live. It's live.
That's the key, I think, being able to follow along.
Live. Yeah, because everybody said it would be, the information was great, but I'd love some accountability. I gave it to you. Here it is.
Yeah. All right. All the links will be in here. We're going to rebroadcast this in case you missed it. And Catherine Morgan, thank you so much for doing this course.
Thank you, Lou.
For being you. It's awesome to see you.
Thanks, Lou.